Hello, everybody. How are you doing today? I'm so glad to be here with you. Thank you so much for spending some time with me here today. I appreciate you. I'm so grateful that you are in my life. Yeah, you, specifically you, right there. I see you. Thanks for listening. I appreciate you. How are you going to end this year powerfully? Tomorrow begins the fourth quarter, the last quarter for 2021. Can you believe? I mean, think about where we were October 1st of last year. Think about all the things we've been through in the last 12 months. Ugh, no matter where you are politically, religiously, any other kind of way, there has been a turmoil for you. I don't know that that's necessarily a good thing, but it's definitely been the way it's been, right? It's been a really interesting last 12 months, been a really interesting last, year and a half, right? We've been through a lot of things, but we've been through it together and we're still here. There are people that aren't here today that were here this time last year. Um, Over the course of the last couple of weeks, I have been discovering several different mentors that have been in my life for literally decades that have passed away recently. To my knowledge, none of them actually are COVID related. All of them have to do with age related type of things. Dr. Donald Joy, my earliest and very first mentor, who's been in my life since I was in third grade, did pass away evidently this past August, and he will be greatly missed. A man who was brilliant beyond. He was so interesting to have conversations with because I could type out a really basic, very unformatted question to him via email, and I would get back a very well considered, well thought out, and incredibly well typed out reply back. He could type, probably 100 plus, probably 120 words a minute. He could type as fast as most people can express themselves verbally and do it in near perfect edit just right from it. I was so blessed on my books. The first series, the Thriving Success series, which was originally How to Succeed in Life and Business series, or well, was the one book, and I've broken it up into 10 because it was just too long. He wrote the foreword for it, and also did the editing for it on me, and I'm so grateful for him. Ernie Villanueva, who many of you that are avid listeners of mine have heard me quote many times. Ernie's statement: yesterday is a canceled check, tomorrow is a promissory note, today is the only legal tender. Both Ernie and Dr. Joy have been on my radio show. You can go to wehelpyouthrive.com and literally see all of the episodes of the show that have ever been, including the twice that Ernie's been on, and the one time that Dr. Joy was on the show with me. So there has been some losses, and there have been, I hope for all of you, some gains too, and definitely, hopefully, some growth. Because in situations where we are challenged like this, we have two choices. We can grow, well, three technically. We can grow, we can stagnate, or we can just basically die. Whether it's a living death, I write in my book about the concept of being a zombie, and I write it from experience because I lived that way for about a decade. A zombie, as I describe it in the book, is a person who is dead but doesn't have the decency to lay down in the grave. They're still up moving around, but they're a dead person. They're doing nothing. They're making no difference in the world. And you can tell just by seeing and being with them that there is no life in them. And I lived, like I said, for about a decade that way, very taken out of life and not doing what I need to do. Um, so it's really important that we don't allow ourselves to hit that death point. I mean, obviously, each of us is going to reach a point at the end of our lives, and that's a different thing than what I'm talking about in this case. We also don't want to stagnate. I mean, a stagnant body of water begins to grow moss and then muck, and it begins to smell. And it's very similar to death in a lot of ways. There can be a lot of life in it still. Some of the most interesting little creatures, tadpoles that become frogs and things like that, they kind of prefer stagnated water. So there is the possibility of life coming out of somebody that's stagnated, but they themselves aren't really doing anything. So it's like, imagine if you did something really powerful in the world and then you just stopped. And so people can take the things you did and they can still learn and grow and they can develop, but you're not actively helping anybody. And a lot of times, especially in the last 18 months, and I always try to keep our lives as a judgment-free zone. So if you're a walking zombie like I was, if you've stagnated like I've done many times, that's okay. Sometimes, and I want to be clear here, stagnant is not resting. It's not stopping. It's not regrouping. It's just an intentional choice to do nothing. It's not standing still. It is being nothingless. Stagnant and zombie are very close. The difference being is that the stagnant person often has things that are still coming out from them. There are times when, I've been in that stagnation stage and still made massive impact. A lot of you are probably in the same boat as I am, where, you can give 70%, maybe even 20% of your capability. And it's better than 120% of other people because you're an expert at what you do and you really know how to do it well, or you're incredibly gifted and talented. I heard once one of my cousins actually made it, if I understand correctly, and I'd have to go back because this is a lot of years ago, because he's older than I am, and I graduated from high school in '85, so he probably graduated in about 1980, and he went on, played college ball for sure, but I'm pretty sure he spent a year-ish, maybe two, in professional. So he wasn't a name that you would ever know, but he made it pretty well to the highest level of professional football that you can. And I heard him say one time, and he was repeating one of his coaches, that the problem with really truly talented, gifted athletes, and this applies to everything else, you could say accountants, you could, whatever. The problem with somebody who is really truly talented is often they never reach their full potential. In fact, the coach went on to say, give me somebody with a little bit of talent and a whole lot of work, a whole lot of drive, and I can take them further than the guy that is naturally talented and can run circles around them. Because the naturally talented person, we tend in our giftings and talents to take them for granted and to not do what we could do because it's easy. So why put out the effort, right? That unfortunately is often the case. So that is kind of more the stagnant person. The stagnant person is this person with massive skills that are doing nothing with it. So they're not the zombie where you're literally just done. You've given up on life, but more you're coasting. Does that make sense? Does that kind of discriminate between the two, distinguish between the two of them? So, and all of us have gone through those stages, and there's no judgment if you have, or even if you are in either of those stages. But we're at a miraculous time. Tomorrow will be October 1st. It's the beginning of the fourth quarter for this year. From my own personal perspective, I know for other people, this is probably not true. From my own personal perspective, I can't say that it's been a really amazing year. There's a lot of challenges that have come this year, and a lot of output without any obvious income or input, because I'm not just necessarily talking specifically about monetary, but there's been a lot of giving, and not, in many cases, not a lot of receiving. And some of that's on me. I gotta, just be really vulnerable here with you. Some of it is I'm not real good at receiving, and so there are probably people in my life that would tell you, we've really been trying with Steve, but he's hard sometimes to take care of. He's hard sometimes to give to, because, and part of it is I'm extremely independent. And I admit that, and I see it actually as one of the advantages in my life. But for the others that want to do nice things for me, sometimes they struggle with it because, um, as my youngest son said when he was little, he went through a stage where he decided that he didn't need to hold a hand crossing the street, and so he said, "No, I can hold my own hand." I tend to be that way sometimes too. It's like, no, I can hold my own hand, and it's like, no, you need to take my hand. Let's walk across the street together. And I told the story, I think, on the Facebook Live I did just a couple of days ago, about how what I basically had to say to him was, well, then I need you to hold my hand so that I can make it safely across the street. And then, of course, he can feel strong and powerful. And sometimes we have to do that with people who, like me, struggle with receiving. So for some of you, 2021 was probably that way. A lot of people really wanting to do things, and a lot of things that were totally outside of your control, that were just a mess. I get that on both ends of things. I understand. And we can't, and here's the hardest part of all of it, we can't change the past. Not even a minute ago. Couple of minutes ago, I did in fact, throughout even just we've been on for 12 minutes and 7 seconds as of 9, 10, 11, because it keeps going by on this. And there's been a few times when I have made verbal faux pas. I used the word discriminate rather than distinguish. And I immediately was like, no, that's not the right word. Distinguish, from, and not because I need to judge myself for that, but because I'm human. But here's the thing. Even when you say that wrong word, when you mean to say then and you say than, or vice versa, you need to say affect when you said effect. That's the difference of the A and the E, for those of you who I can't say it well enough for you. As soon as that wrongly said word, again, not because you intended to or because anything bad happened, but you hear yourself and you're like, oh, that wasn't the word I wanted to use. As soon as you've said that, that is the past. The word I just said is now in the past. I can't go back and change it. The times that I've rambled already to you in this Facebook Live, I can't take those back. They are the past. Same is true with yesterday, last week, last month, last year, a decade ago. Going back to your childhood, all of those kind of things, they're the past. Now, sometimes with the past, we need to forgive others and ourselves and move forward. We have to do that in order to be able to, in the present, move forward. But we can't change it. The past just was what it was. It's one of the things I love and hate about history. I really love history, but one of the most difficult parts of studying history is most of a very big majority of history is really icky things that we as people have done to one another. We can't rewrite history. We can ignore it, avoid it, change it, say it differently, any of those kind of things, but it doesn't make it untrue what happened. It doesn't actually change it. We can use a different word, define it differently, but it is just what it was. The best way, for those of you, I know a lot of people are homeschooling now, and I was a homeschooler back when homeschooling was totally uncool, but I loved it. For those of you that are homeschooling, I encourage you. You want to teach your children history, teach them the most icky parts of history too. and just give them the facts and the information. Because, as it says on the walls going into, it's either Auschwitz or Dachau, when we fail to learn the lessons of history, we're destined to repeat them. It's by understanding and knowing all of the things that we as humans have done to one another that we then can learn from that and do better. So the past is the past. We forgive those who have wronged us. We ask for forgiveness for the things we've done, and we live in the present. A lot of times it's even more exciting to live in the future. Oh, next week. Like later this month, I've got coming up again my now signature virtual writing weekend. We've already got it scheduled. I can even look over here. I'll click on my schedule, and I'll actually, while I'm talking to you, click over and I'll tell you when. So we are going to do that. So we have our next upcoming summit. It's called Mindset, Message, and Mastery. And that summit is going to be the weekend of the 22nd, the 23rd, and the 24th. We'll have 27 more amazing speakers for you, talking to you about your mindset, your message, and how you can live with mastery in your life. And then the following weekend, the 4th, 5th, and 6th, so that's a Thursday, Friday, and Saturday, I'm going to do my now new signature virtual writing weekend workshop. And I'm really excited for both of those. So those are things that are coming up, but they're in the future. Okay. I'm excited about them. I don't want anybody to take away from the excitement from them, because I really love what we had this past weekend in our first ever virtual writing workshop weekend that we did. And I'm looking forward to doing many, many, many of them with many of you throughout the years. So that's the future, though. I can't live there. I can't spend any money that I might make from that. I can't help the people that I absolutely will help during those two events that I just brought up. What I can do is show up powerfully today. I can be my very best while it's called today. I can eat right. I can exercise. I can smile at you while I'm doing a Facebook Live. I can do all the things that I can do today to serve you, to serve my clients, and to take good care of me. Ooh, I want to say that one again because I struggle with it. Maybe some of you do too. Take good care of me. You're important too, and you need to be taken good care of as well. Yes, I did pause. I want that to really sink in, that you are amazingly incredible. You're special. You're wonderful. You're powerful. You're awesome. You're dynamic. And you're worth it. So let's all join together in this last quarter. Let's make the world a better place. That seems huge, doesn't it? I know it feels daunting of a challenge to me. But there's a secret to doing that. And that's each of us living in this present moment, showing up while it's called today, being the best version of who you are today, sharing who you are with the world, with that one person whose life you can affect today, making a difference in the world. If there's anything I can do to help you have a powerful last quarter of 2021, I would love to do that. There is still lots and lots of time to get your book. In fact, there's the possibility of doing 2 or even 3 books still before the end of this year. Yeah, it can actually be that easy. Quinn, my co-host on both the workshop and the writing weekend, we're finishing up her first book. It'll be out, if not this weekend, Monday at the latest. And then in the next 2 workshops, we're going to do book 2 and book 3 in the series. So by the end of this year, she will have 3 books already out. It can be that quickly. When I say it's a virtual writing weekend, what it really is the Write Your Book This Weekend workshop. Pretty cool, huh? So if there's anything I can do to help you, feel free to go to askstevekid.com. It is in the description, but I also just dropped it here into the notes for you so that you can join me and you can show up powerfully in the world too. Let's have this last quarter be the best quarter ever in all of our lives. As you stay happy, safe, warm, and loved, as you live as a thriving entrepreneur, as you make the difference that only you can make in this world, and you really, truly show up while it's called today, each and every day of this last quarter. Till we're together again next time, I hope that you have a great week.